under the wise guidance of the Bank of International Settlements, we will have, well, what will we have? Enough to eat? Time will tell.
Yeah, I think probably not. Wise guidance. Okay, let's move on then to the media and censorship. And here is the wonderful Oliver Dowden, who's the digital secretary, of course. He some time ago was saying this: defending the country from misinformation and digital interference is a top priority for this government. And so, of course, this government is pushing through the online safety bill in the not too distant future. But I just wanted to go back a little bit because Oliver Dowden has written an article for the press as well. He's joining Boris in that. But I want to go back to a little bit of history to talk about how this government is shoring up the mainstream press in this country. So we go back to 2018, and Matt Hancock was the digital secretary at that point. And he, in the House of Commons, was launching the Cairncross Review. Many people may remember that. The Cairncross Review, he said, will explore whether intervention may be required to safeguard the future of our free and independent press. Now, if you've got to remember, if you go back to 2011, the government had attempted to gain control of the press through the Leveson inquiry. That effort hadn't worked. In the meantime, there were efforts to take on a second effort at on Leveson 2, and he, at this same point, announced that he would not be proceeding with Leveson 2, but he expressed his worries about the future of the press because by this stage already, by 2018, they had the press pretty much in their pockets. So he went on to say that we, the government, will take action to tackle the challenges our media faced today, not a decade ago. And he appointed Dame Frances Cairncross to bring her experience in journalism and academia to tackle these issues with a view to examine the press and protect the future of high-quality journalism. He trembled, he said, at the thought, I tremble at the thought of a media regulated by the state in a time of malevolent forces in politics. Get this wrong, and I fear for the future of our liberal democracy. So that was in March 2018. In middle of 2018, the Cairncross Review was formally stood up, and then in early 2019, they issued the report. And they were talking about new codes of conduct to rebalance the relationship between publishers and online platforms. They're certainly doing that with the online safety bill. The Competition and Markets Authority was to investigate the online advertising market. That is underway as well, because they feel that Google and Facebook in particular aren't giving enough money to the press. Online platforms' efforts to improve users' news experience should be placed under regulatory supervision. That's being done by the Online Safety Bill, and Ofcom will be the body that does that. She's recommended developing a media literacy strategy alongside Ofcom, industry and stakeholders, and they are going for that as hard as they can, as we reported on this programme last week. Ofcom should explore the market impact of BBC News and whether it inappropriately steps into areas better served by commercial news providers. They did that, and they have made the BBC pay for some so-called commercial news. But we'll come on to that in a second. A new innovation fund should be launched, aiming to improve the supply of public interest news. That was linked to the BBC as well. The next recommendation was new forms of tax reliefs to encourage payments for online news content and support local and investigative journalism. They're certainly in the process of doing that, expanding financial support for local news by extending the BBC's local democracy reporting service. They've done that, so BBC trained journalists being pushed into local news. And of course, you don't know that they're funded and supported by the BBC. And a new independent institute should be created to ensure the provision of public interest news. Well, they didn't bother with that one. So that's the only one that they are not, they either haven't already done or they're not already progressing. So let's have a look at Oliver Dowden's article itself and see what he's saying. A free media is one that has a diverse range of opinions and voices. And as I said earlier this week, GB News is a welcome addition to that diversity. Well, I'm not seeing any diversity from GB News. This morning, they were pushing the vaccine narrative as hard as they possibly could. They were fully supportive of it, and they couldn't get enough of it.
That's why they're welcome.
Of course, yes. But a free media is one that has a diverse range of opinions and views. No, Oliver Dowden is lying at this point because he knows that the free media he's talking about has a unified range of opinions of opinions and voices. We need outlets and commentators who cover the range of political spectrum, who can speak truth to power and are willing to challenge dogma and orthodoxy. This does not exist in the British media. I don't think it exists in the media anywhere in the Western world, or in the world perhaps. This is exactly why, he wrote, when we are developing legislation to boost online safety and tackle social media abuse, I was determined to make sure it couldn't be used to stifle debate, he lied. I will explain why in a second. There will be a new requirement for social media companies to protect freedom of expression, he lied, but we'll come on to that in a second. The largest social media platforms will need to be clear to users about what they allow on their sites and enforce it consistently. And this is how we know that he's just lied, because this isn't about a diverse range of views appearing on social media. This is about making sure that we as individuals know in advance what we're allowed to say on social media platforms and what we're not allowed to say on social media platforms. But they will enforce that consistently. So we don't need to worry that we're going to be, perhaps kicked off compared to other people if we're saying the same things as those people, allowed to say the same things as everybody else. It's only if we're saying something different that we get kicked off. And he went on to write, we've also got special safeguards for journalistic and democratically important content. Those are the grounds of a functioning democracy. So those are the grounds of a functioning democracy, David, but that's only if you're not living in a democracy.
It's only if you're not living in the real world. Dogma and orthodoxy. I challenged dogma and orthodoxy. I was thrown off of Twitter. Where's the British government riding to my rescue? Where's the politicians saying, oh, no, we've got this media organisation here who are challenging us on the whole COVID vaccine thing, and this is healthy for democracy. Don't you nasty Twitter attack them. I'm still waiting on that one. Freedom of expression has been defined as only what the World Health Organization says in terms of COVID. Even when the World Health Organization then changes its policy and says the opposite of what it was previously saying, then to say what it was previously saying becomes banned speech. And then when something else happens in the mainstream, all of a sudden things can be said which couldn't be said. We had Jon Stewart on the Colbert Show over the last few days talking about the Wuhan lab leak theory. Well, that was prohibited until a few weeks ago. Now there's some emails leaked from Fauci. We could all talk about that, apparently. But that was prohibited. That would have got you banned. It was interesting watching how awkward Colbert looked over the whole thing. That was quite funny. You could see his career pass in front of his eyes. It was quite amusing. But that's a change in what's allowable. And what's allowable keeps moving. It's not that we can investigate and we can challenge and we can raise questions and concerns. No, we're constantly faced with censorship when we do any of these things.
That's absolutely right. And well, if anybody's in any doubt about where the main social media platforms stand, here they are: Snapchat, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube. These leading social media platforms, popular with young people, according to the government, are supporting the vaccination program by encouraging their users to get coronavirus jabs. The partnerships comes as all adults aged 18 and over are invited to receive a vaccine in England, as the vaccine program continues at unprecedented pace and scale. So Snapchat users can use NHS stickers, a filter, and later this month an augmented reality lens that all read, "I've had my vaccine." So that's good stuff. And Reddit has hosted 2 live Ask Me Anything sessions on the coronavirus forum. It's featured experts, in inverted commas, like Dr. Amalina Bakri, answering questions from Downing Street. Reddit will continue to host question and answers over the coming weeks in order to help people make sure they only get the approved message on this. TikTok support for the vaccine rollouts includes adding the NHS "I've had my COVID vaccine" stickers to its library for users to share. And it's also working with Team Halo, which is a group of scientists using the platform to provide the latest information on vaccines with entertaining and shareable videos. And in collaboration with the NHS, YouTube has rolled out a video campaign with the tagline, "Let's not go back," to remind core its core 18 to 34-year-old audience of the importance of being vaccinated. So YouTube very keen that we don't go back to the old normal. And in the meantime, Facebook, Twitter, and Google have committed to the principle that no company should profit from or promote false information about COVID-19 vaccines, to respond to flagged content more swiftly, and to work with the authorities to promote scientifically accurate messages. David, give me a quick definition of what a scientifically accurate message might be.
Science is false. Most science writing is false. What we're talking about is the approved political narrative. I was thrown off Twitter for saying two things. One, I pointed out that vaccines were killing people. That's now in the mainstream. It's not open to debate. But I was thrown off for it nonetheless. And the other thing I said was, actually I can't remember, what was the other thing? There was another one I got thrown off for. It was something about statistics. I was talking about vaccine harm statistics. That was it. I mentioned their own data. I mentioned the government data. And it was accurate. And I was thrown off. I'm very confused, Mike.
Yes.
Well, I'd just say you shouldn't be, David, because, of course, earlier on I pointed out that the government and the Office of National Statistics data on COVID was largely correct. It was the spin that was put on it, which was incorrect. So they're very frightened of you looking at the data because the spin then becomes obvious.
Now, very occasionally, David, of course, the fact that the mainstream press is utterly controlled breaks surface. And there was a pretty spectacular video from the United States and Fox in particular last week.
Yeah, this is Fox 26 Houston. The young lady is a reporter called Ivory Hecker, and God bless her. Just have a look.
Outages across the region. Fox 26 reporter Ivory Hecker is live in Montgomery County to take a look at that aspect.
Thanks, guys. That's right. Before we get to that story, I want to let you, the viewers, know that Fox Corp has been muzzling me to keep certain information from you, the viewers. And from what I'm gathering, I am not the only reporter being subjected to this. I am going to be releasing some recordings about what goes on behind the scenes at Fox because it applies to you, the viewers. I found a nonprofit journalism group called Project Veritas. It's going to help put that out tomorrow, so tune into them. But as for this heat wave across Texas, you can see what it's doing to AC units. This one broken down as we speak.
Wasn't that lovely?
Can we get her on the UK column news to get a little bit more background to that story? That'd be wonderful.
Yes, well, there's a full interview now being produced by Project Veritas. We'll reach out and we'll see if we can make some contact with her. I understand she's no longer employed by Fox.
Indeed. Now, this one in the Mail. BBC bans white people from applying for £18,000 trainee job in Springwatch and The One Show.
Yes, I just want to emphasise this, that the BBC have joined Coca-Cola Corp and are now officially racist. The race, of course, that they're objecting to is called the British people. They don't like those, but they're only excluding white British from their job adverts. Anyone else can apply. So just so you know, the BBC are now officially racist.
Well, what better point, or no better point to in the news to bring in Tim Davie. Let's get him back on screen. This is from the UK column on the 3rd of May this year, but Tim Davie was warning over the growing assault on truth as he calls for solidarity with journalists facing intimidation and harassment across the globe. There he is grinning. You can grin quite a lot if you earn £664,000 a year. But we've got a little bit of video clip where Tim Davie was interviewed by the Financial Times. I found this a very interesting little clip. Let's have a listen.
Now, Tim, we all have our own special relationship with the BBC in the UK, and you've got vast amounts of news output. You can't possibly monitor it all and watch it all. What do you actually listen and watch on a daily basis?
Personally, I spread it around a bit. So actually, I'm joining you from Glasgow. So I've been with the Good Morning Scotland team and actually the Scottish Channel 9 bulletin last night.